Welcome to the Dusty Muffins, where menopause meets sisterhood and strength. We're three menopause specialists coming together to laugh, share, and empower you through the wild ride of menopause and perimenopause. Whether you're curious, confused, or just looking for real talk, you're in the right place. We're here to answer your burning questions, educate, and advocate, all with a dash of humor and a lot of heart. So pull up a chair and join the conversation. Before we dive in, please remember, while we're doctors, we're not your doctors. This podcast is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice. We encourage you to partner with your own medical clinician to address your unique health needs. This is the Dusty Muffins. I am Dr. Rebbecca Hertel. I'm a board-certified osteopathic family medicine physician and a Menopause Society certified practitioner. I have a private telemedicine practice, and I see patients in several different states.
I am Dr. Aoife O'Sullivan, a board-certified family physician and Menopause Society certified practitioner, and I see patients through my telemedicine practice here in Oregon and Washington.
I'm Dr. Hart Kress, a board-certified women's health nurse practitioner and menopause certified practitioner, and I see patients via telemedicine in several states as well.
Welcome back to the Dusty Muffins, where we talk about everything no one prepared us for and how we figure it out anyway. Today's conversation is a little different and one we've been really looking forward to.
We're joined by Julie Gordon-White, an award-winning entrepreneur, best-selling business author, TEDx speaker, and founder of MenoWell menopause fiber and protein bars, along with a Meno Lounge community to support women with advice from expert guests. But what makes Julie so interesting isn't just what she built, it's when she built it. After years of building and scaling multiple companies, Julie hit this phase of life that so many women experience. And like most of us, realized pretty quickly that the support just wasn't there.
But instead of just white knuckling her way through it, she did something a little more ambitious. Julie, welcome. We're so glad to have you here. Thanks so much for joining us on the West Coast a little early.
I know.
Well, hi, everybody. All my favorites in one spot. Super glad to be here.
Julie, we all know you, of course, from the last few years with your beautiful MenoWell bar. But what a lot of people don't know, I'd say, is that you've built multiple businesses even before MenoWell. And we're really curious, how did this phase of life hit you personally? You're a serial entrepreneur. Perimenopause hits. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like for you?
Yeah, I was all business all the time. Not that I'm not now, but in a different way. A boutique mergers and acquisitions firm after I left corporate marketing life. And then I coached women entrepreneurs for 10 years on how to grow multi-million-dollar service companies that are sellable. And I always told them, never start a product company. It's too hard. It requires too much cash and the profit margins are too small. And then menopause hit, perimenopause. And I actually felt terrible. I had really bad brain fog. I couldn't sleep. But the tipping point for me was gaining about 10 pounds. And you've probably heard me say I'm 5'1". There's no place for that to go. And that was just the pile on that I couldn't take anymore. And my sugar cravings were nuts. And so I just knew I had to do something about it because I'm a sweets person. I like sweets, but I had to have a better choice. And so that's kind of what kicked off the whole thing. And I went down the rabbit hole and here we are. That's the very short version.
I remember when we met in Florida, you talked a little bit about how this business started in your kitchen. Is that correct? Did I remember that correctly?
You're right, Christine. And I'm not really like a cook or a baker, not really, but it was COVID actually when I started thinking about this. And so I had plenty of time. And so I started researching, how do I just make a snack, something I could have that was a sweet treat and, make me just feel better. And then that's when the menopause conversation was super, super early, but starting to come to the surface. And so I started researching, that's a nice thing when, a blessing when you have time. And that's when the whole idea of, oh, wow, I'm really in perimenopause or at the end or just postmenopausal actually by that time, barely, but still struggling. And so what can I have? So that's when I started researching the importance of fiber Fiber. Okay, that's what's going to keep me full. And then I learned all about fiber, right? And then what else? Oh, cacao, organic cacao. Okay, that's going to be crunchy texture and then make me enjoy what I'm eating. Protein, hello, have to have some protein in here. And then there's a Harvard study about plant-based protein being really good for a menopausal body. So, okay, plant protein. So we've got fiber, protein. And then that's like, what else really can help my body? And that's when I really learned about maca, which is an ancient Peruvian root. It's an adaptogen. So it adapts to our body. And that's so that combination of the high fiber to balance our blood sugar so we're not craving sweets all the time, keeping things moving, plus protein for our muscle, right? Because we always need to add more of that. And then that maca that really just sort of meets our body where we are, gives us a little bit of energy, but also has a calming and some research showing that it has some support for helping balance whatever balance is, right? Hormones over time with all the fluctuations. So that's where the core, I call the Shiro ingredients, came together, plus all the other good stuff, MCT oil, flaxseed, blah, blah, blah. But it was really in my kitchen on Google where I started doing research, teamed up with a friend who my CPA said, hey, my sister-in-law is a clinical nutritionist. You want to talk to her? Yes, I do, Barb Sobel. And then I had a client who was a doctor, Dr. Larissa, OBGYN, specializing in hormones. So I just said, hey, ladies, let's huddle up. And this is COVID again, distancing, Zoom, a lot of Zoom. And they said, yeah, this makes sense. This really can add value and help women peri to post. And so it really wasn't until they gave the stamp of approval that I said, all right, let's do the thing I told women not to do, because I can't not do it now. So there you go.
Want the Dusty Muffins at your next event? We do panels, live podcasts, and talks that bring the heat, literally. Corporate, CME, or retreats, we've got you. So hit us up at thedustymuffins333@gmail.com or DM us on Instagram at thedustymuffins. And were you doing you were launching this alongside of still doing like full-time or part-time, or what else were you doing as you were launching MenoWell, or did you just dive fully into this and you were, changing career paths?
Well, two things. One, I realized I have a sort of a 10-year cycle in all of my companies. So I go hard, go in, and then the entrepreneur in me is ready to do something different. And it was COVID. So I coached we had a whole group program. So I coached 30 women through the first year or two of COVID, no charge, because business was hard for them at the time. And then I blessed them, I kissed them, I sent them off into the world and just went 100% focused on MenoWell. And I put in a lot of investment myself to get it off the ground, but I also raised money. And so when you have investors, especially venture capital, they really want you to stay focused on one thing. And so, and I believe in that because, it's hard enough to be focused when you are menopausal some stage.
Yeah.
So, one thing all in. Yeah.
Well, and small secret, I low key, when I first met Julie, totally went and was like, is she still doing business coaching? Because I need this woman in my life. And you were not at the time. I was like, dang it, we missed that opportunity with her.
Let me just tell you, once a coach, always a coach. And if you catch me on the right day at the right time, I will coach you any way that you need to.
Well, we have gotten some yes, and we have gotten some wonderful little pearls from you when we were just, talking about launching and going out on our own. And I remember that in Florida, and Christine was with me. I don't think you were there with us, but and so we took that to heart, let me tell you. And then we were off and running after that.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
We all see all the time, just like incredibly capable women. They're at the peak of their careers, they're CEOs, they're, whether it's of a business, of their household, and then like things start to just fall apart and their executive functioning starts to slow down. They can't, remember a chain of thought. They're afraid to get up and do presentations. And, a lot of women are, in rooms with mostly men and are embarrassed if they have a hot flash. When you were coaching those 30 women, and then making the transition into learning all about menopause. Did you have like some aha moments, or did you have any like about connect, like you probably then were able to kind of connect the dots maybe of some of the business challenges that women were having. And do you have any advice for women who are ready to just like call it quits and jump off the train completely and not pursue their demanding careers?
You know, my heart really aches for women as we go through this and we really start to lose confidence in ourselves when our body doesn't respond the way we're used to. We've all heard the term now, not feeling like ourselves is such a great way to describe our experience, even though we all experience the menopausal transition, in a different way. We have those symptoms we all know about. That's the through thread, but the way we experience them is different. But something that's consistent is how it can really impact our self-esteem and confidence when you are speaking in a meeting and you can't remember the words. And then it creates anxiety that whether you can or can't, you might not, right? And then your body gets hot and then, you're sweating, or it's really, really challenging. And I know I felt those moments. And quite frankly, I still do. Even though I've done the shtick, I've done the thing for a long time. Even on Saturday, when I was the moderator of our panel, I just noticed my heart going a little bit faster. And normally I don't have that feeling. So I just, okay, all right, here we go. Just let's take a few deep breaths. You know what you're doing, and then go. So I encourage women, never, ever, ever give up on whatever dream idea is stuck in your heart. It's still there for a reason. And just have a little bit more grace with yourself as you step in. Some days can be difficult. The brain may not be responding. You can be really, really tired. Or some days, usually the first day I change my estrogen patch, I am on fire, So you've got to optimize days that you're rocking and then give yourself a minute or a whole day or 2 days if you need to when you're not. It's okay. The work is still going to be there, but we don't want to give up our dreams. Like, we finally have time, maybe. Maybe the kids are up and out the door. My last kid going to high school was a big shift for me, capturing all that time back. Or we're at a peak earning potential. And not to mention time in the saddle. We know stuff, right? We know things. So now is not the time to shrink. It's the time to have grace, but also step in. Don't give it up. It's just too good. It's too good.
Yeah. And I think to learn yourself too, right? Like, if you work better in the morning and your brain is more awake, then that's when you should optimize that time. If you work better in the afternoon or you work better in the evening, I think as we're aging, my brain is better in the morning. I work better and I can see as the day goes on or the nighttime goes on, there are certain things I can do, but executive function things for me,
Right.
late night, I can't do, like, I
Forget
can't
it.
go for as long. Yeah. So I think learning also who we are as we're aging, just like you said, continue to go after those dreams because we have so much wisdom and experience. But then on top of that, just the frustration of not to being able to go necessarily 24 hours all the time, but to make the most of it. If it's the day you change your estrogen patch, or if it's in the morning, you have, peak function, to use that to your advantage,
Yeah,
That's
I
a good
really
point.
agree with that. Knowing your peak productive hours and doing the hard things first, the things that require more mental heavy lifting. For me, that could be a financial forecasting day. And so I know what I'm doing. I'm making sure I'm eating my protein in the morning and my fiber, that Greek yogurt and fiber on top, maybe a MenoWell bar broken up. I'm lifted weights in the morning, so I have a lot of blood flow. Went outside. If it wasn't cold, it's beautiful here in California now, but get prepare for those days where I know I'm really going to make her work up here. So I really agree with you. And we don't have to work 24 hours a day. We shouldn't anyway. We don't need to. That's what wisdom and experience does. We get to work smarter, not harder. Harder used to work really well, kind of like cardio, right? Cardio used to work really well. Not so much now, right? It's just we can lift weights and almost get the same effect. So it's the same kind of thing.
I love that you are echoing the same thing that, we all echo to our patients, because I think women think hormones are, if I'm on hormones, everything will be better. And that there's like some sort of, the sun and the moon and everything rises and then we're back to ourselves. But if we're not doing those other things that you mentioned, including mindfulness and taking care of ourselves, all the hormones in the world are not going to do a woman a lick of good if she is not being really selfish and prioritizing all of those other things. And I think women get really frustrated because they're like, but I don't have time. And I'm like, well, you're spending a lot of time not feeling good. So you really will have a ton of time when we get you feeling better, but you got to do all this other stuff. And, I say all the time, menopausing is hard. It's a full-time job.
It's hard. Yeah.
I know. I agree with you.
And rest and recovery is
you're
so
Right.
important.
Yeah, hormone replacement therapy is one piece of the pie. And I came to that party late because my mom told me that it wasn't an option for us. I'm like, okay, I've since, at 59 decided I'm not going to miss this party. I'm good. I'm in, I'm all in. But before that, it was a gift because I really leaned on lifestyle to feel better first. And so now I really understand and can share forward, like all of you, that hormone therapy is one piece of the pie, but we still have to get our nutrition right. We still have to work out, lift weights, walk. I love walking the most, and sleep, right? We need to do all those. That's the entire pie, not to mention the underlying stress and community. So it does feel like a full-time job, but hopefully we can find joy in all the pieces. And then we're not relying on one thing to make everything better, because that's just setting ourselves up for disappointment.
And with all the research you did, Judy, especially looking into when you were creating your MenoWell bar, do you feel like there's something or more than one thing that a lot of us are getting wrong about our nutrition in this phase?
Well, we are all chasing protein like crazy people, right? So, which is good. But I'm really trying to say now, hey, protein's BFF is fiber. So don't forget her. Fiber is not sexy until you wish you had more of it. But fiber is actually one of the most powerful things side by side to protein, because fiber is in our gut. And we know now that gut is command central. It speaks to all the systems. It speaks to the brain. We have all of this beautiful bacteria or not in our gut. And so we need to feed it with a probiotic. We talk about prebiotics, but we need to put the gas in the car first. And those are the probiotics. And that's what inulin chicory root fiber does. And so it's really important that we get our gut in control, and we remember that she is just as important as protein. So I think that's what we're missing right now. I think the conversation around fiber is starting to come to the surface, mostly because as a society, we get tired of talking about one thing. So we look for the next thing to talk about. But putting those two partners together, protein and fiber, that's the winning combination.
And I think a lot of clinicians don't know that 80% of our serotonin and dopamine is produced in the gut. So if we're not eating fiber and we don't have a healthy microbiome, we're not making those neurotransmitters.
We're not optimizing, right? We don't need to biohack. We need to optimize. Exactly.
Have you been told your labs are normal, but yet you still feel exhausted, foggy, and gain weight simply by looking at a meal? Well, you're in good company. In midlife, normal isn't enough. You deserve to feel like yourself again. I'm Dr. Hart Kress, a board-certified women's health nurse practitioner and certified menopause specialist. I deep dive into the areas often overlooked: hormone optimization, thyroid health, gut health, medical weight loss, including administering testosterone therapy for women. No rushing, no insurance hoops, just a blueprint back to a vibrant life. I'm accepting new patients in Virginia, Florida, and 5 other states. Book your clarity call at www.christinehartkressdmp.com. Well, the problem is right, allopathic medicine, which is where we were all trained. It's where all of our providers are trained, right? Like that's the gold standard. But we're missing so much if we are only practicing by rigid guidelines and randomized controlled trials because so few exist. And I was telling the girls, like, if you had asked me a year ago about gut testing, I would have told you that's a bunch of woo-woo nonsense. And so I started with myself, which is what I start I'm I'm my patient's greatest guinea pig. You name it, I'm doing it, or I've done it and I've decided I don't like it. So I was like, I'm going to do this gut testing because I hear the benefits, right? And the links and the neurotransmitters like Aoife was talking about, and all these women who mood isn't getting better on antidepressants, hormones aren't getting better the more hormones that we're given. And I was stuck metabolically. Like, Aoife and I talk about this. I was on a GLP for a year and lost 7 pounds. Like, who does that? I mean, my patients are
Interesting.
successful. I'm the ultimate failure. I'm like, what? I know the knowledge is the
No,
same.
you're
Like, I'm
special, not a failure.
yeah.
That is what we say every day.
Yeah. So I did my gut testing and my gut was a tragic train wreck. And I did a 12-week
Mm.
protocol and my bloating went away, my meno gut went away. I'm losing weight now. My mood got better. I can focus and concentrate. So I was like, all right, I'm at the end of this thing. Please, like, I'm going to test. And I was like, this ain't going to be any different because what I just did for 12 weeks is a bunch of BS. And I couldn't believe that my gut test confirmed how I felt, because if my, like, right, like I could have been easily swayed. And so, and you talk about optimizing, and those are things that we are not taught. Those things that the menopause societies and, the big societies, they don't buy into this optimization. And they don't buy into things that aren't touted in traditional medicine. And I think women really, really need to, if you really want to work it, you got to work all the levers.
Yeah, you're right. Congratulations and kudos to you for going down that route to figure that out. It's so important. We don't see inside our gut, like you can see what muscle gives you kind of thing. We can see our bones, but we can't see what's happening in here, but we can definitely feel it. So I love that you took the extra step, which I don't think it's going to be extra coming up here soon. I mean, the idea of food as medicine is ancient. It's ancient.
Yep.
What did we have
100%.
before pharmaceuticals, right? So,
Yep.
especially
Yep.
during
And you
menopause,
yeah.
important to
And with
go back
everyone,
to
like
basics.
yeah, even if you think about kids, right? You think about kids and how they act if they have a sugary cereal versus if they have maybe it's just some eggs and some whole grain toast, right? I mean, it's simple things like that. So from just small all the way to adult, all those transitions, right? Small kids and puberty and menopause, and where it comes but it starts at such a young age, just getting away from the easy processed foods, which are so inflammatory. And I think we don't realize it until we get to this phase when inflammational changes. It doesn't take much to cause this big cascade for us. And we have to really sit back and say, all right, what am I fueling my body with? And for some, some women that we take care of, it's revamping their whole way of eating and their nutrition.
Yeah, I love that you guys are on board with that, because we know that about 95% of the menopausal population isn't even taking hormone therapy right now. So I like to say, when I meet women everywhere, nutrition is your biggest lever. It's the thing you can control. You have to eat anyway, even exercise. When we say, oh, I don't have time to work out or whatever, you're going to eat. So you can control the things that go into your body that are going to directly make you feel better or not. It's a choice. And you might have to spend a little money trying to find the things that you like to eat that are better for you, but it's worth it.
Yeah, because in the long run, medicine is expensive. Doctor's appointments are expensive.
Right?
Not feeling well, not feeling good is expensive.
So, Julie, like with all of these conferences and all these women that you've met and hosting the M Factor 2, and being a sponsor for that and doing hosting and moderating, what are you hearing women are being told that you think is just absolutely unacceptable in 2026?
Unfortunately, they're just still being told to tough it out. They are still being told that hormone therapy is not for them. They're still having a hard time getting personalized support. Thanks to doctors, practitioners, supporters, experts like all of you, there are more opportunities for women to get help, real help. But those that are still in a system, in an institutionalized medical system, are not getting the support because the doctors still aren't getting the support. The doctors aren't getting the training. So they're still fearful about prescribing hormone therapy or noticing even that the complaint that the woman has, the symptoms she's sharing are related to perimenopause. They still think it's something else, even, especially if they're not in the gynecologist's office. If she's having heart palpitations and she goes to a cardiologist, they are not recognizing that it's related to perimenopause. They are still very siloed. So women are still suffering, unfortunately. And all of us are in the conversation all the time, every day. So it feels like, we have made a lot of progress since I started in this conversation 5 years ago. We've made tremendous progress and inroads, but this is still tip of the iceberg. Until all of the doctors are getting trained in medical school or continuing education, women will still struggle to be served. So that's why it's up to us. Social media, film, movies, blogs, all the things to help get the word out.
Julie, to wrap us up, there's women listening today and some men as well. Is there any message you would like to share with them?
I would just say continue to educate yourself. Stay curious. Read. Follow smart women like you who care. Make sure you surround yourself with other women and talk to your friends. We don't even talk to our besties about what's happening in our own bodies because our mom probably doesn't know. So you've got to talk to your friends. You've got to read. You might have to bring books to your doctor. You may have to be willing to teach your doctor. That's okay. They were not trained, but we have to continue to do our own personal advocacy. It's our time, it's our bodies. So let's take responsibility. We don't have to be afraid or sad. It's okay if we are, but let's not stay there because there are options out there for us. And just to keep going, continue to believe in ourselves. And, at the end of the day, whether it's business or health, just never give up. Never give up on the dream, what you deserve, and especially in midlife.
Yes. Oh my gosh. We should put a hand clap in there. We'll have a hand clap. That was great.
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you so much.
You inspire me.
Oh, and you inspire all of us as well. And you're such an amazing advocate for women, and all the work you've done over the last few years is incredibly inspiring. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes. And the kindest person. If you have ever get the chance to meet Julie, you have to go up and say hi. She just lights up a room when you are in with her. And so it's no matter what room you're in, that's she's just an amazing person. So.
And for anyone listening, we'll link to Julie's work in the show notes if you want to learn more. And if you haven't tried a MenoWell bar, you need to. And if this episode resonated with you, send it to a friend who's wondering why everything suddenly feels harder than it used to. Thanks for listening to the Dusty Muffins. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the show so you don't miss new episodes. We'll see you next time.